In this video, I'd like to show you a very simple illustration of how to compute the HHI or the Herfindahl Index, as well as computing the location quotient. And what I have here is I am using Montreal CMA as an example. In the interest of time, I have already downloaded the individual pump file for 2021 and also processed 2016 census already. But here, what I'm showing here is a 2021 individual pump file. And this is for CMA of Montreal only. So as you can see, my CMA code is 462, and all my observations remaining on this screen here, it's all within the Montreal CMA. And in particular, my original data set consists of 1,136,000, let me see, sorry, my apologies. My original data set consists of 113,630 observations within the Montreal CMA. I have already cleaned the data for selective variables that I'm using for illustration. Namely, I removed all the income variables that are below 1,000, so negative and -1 and zeros. So all the observations here contain income at least $1,000. So we are looking at part-time employment included. And then now currently, and I also deleted all the North American industrial classifications that is not defined or not applicable. Now I'm down to just about 65,000 observations. So to begin with, to compute the HHI and location quotient, we need a very simple pivot table to distribute all the part-time and full-time employment here in Montreal CMA by industrial classification. Simply what we can do is to do a pivot table. It already selected my data and will output to a new worksheet. I want NAISC, which is the North American Industrial Classification, in my rows. And the value included is not a sum of values because they are the codes in the value. So instead, I want a count of occurrences for these classes. Now, as you can already tell, these are just count of observations, but it's not a count of population. The reason is every one observation represents 37 other. This is a 2.7% sample. In other words, the actual count in population based on the census will be taking the count in the database times 37. That will be the population number rather than the count of respondents included in the database. Nonetheless, if we are interested in the percentage distribution by these classifications, whether you are using the actual count of population or the count within the database of occurrence, it will be the same percentage distribution. So now, if I am using this survey, so it will be what is the distribution by percent in each category. It will be the observation in each category divided by the sum. Let me use this one. Let me use this. And I'll sum it later on. I can leave it in proportions. It doesn't matter. Let me do the percentage then. So I have a division by 0 because I haven't added my sum in the column. So now we know this is 0.5% working in classification 1.1. And I'll show you what these classifications are in my next worksheet. So once we have done this, you can make it a cleaner database or worksheet. For visualization, I have already pre-processed a worksheet that, number one, label the classifications and the actual meaning of these labels. And I have already computed the 2016 percentage. Let me paste what I have computed for 2021 here. So again, these are percentages. If you sum this column, if there's no mistake, it should add up to 100. So that is correct. Now, so what I have here is the percentage distribution by the industrial classification in 2016 and 2021. I can add the count back into this column, but I leave it as an exercise for you. And in the meantime, I've done the exact same exercise for the entire province. Our task here is to compute the HHI and the location quotient for a particular industry for Montreal CMA. Now, the Herfindahl Index is to look at the concentration of the industry or even occupations within the whole economy. What it does is take the square of each percentage distribution and sum it together. So you just keep summing the square. In fact, let me do it a short one. It's a sum product of every observation with itself, which is the same as if you are squaring each term and then sum it together. So here I got 767 in 2016. Do the same thing in 794. They are relatively similar, so the concentration of the industry doesn't seem to be increasing by a lot, despite the fact that it does. As you can see, healthcare has increased a little bit, but then at the expense of some other decreasing. Or transportation warehouse has also increased. Manufacturing has also increased. So the change is not dramatic, although there's some increase in the concentration in particular industry. What about location quotient? Suppose I'm interested in particular, healthcare and social assistance. So this is NAICS, which is number 62. I want to look at the location quotient. The location quotient basically is the percentage distribution of, or the percentage employment in a particular industry within the CMA relative to that same percentage in the province. So let me calculate it for classification 62. It equals to healthcare, which is 11.9, divided by the same proportion, but at the provincial level in 2016. So my location quotient is 0.95, which means almost the concentration in the CMA is almost like that in the province. If I do the same thing in 2021, it looks just similar for the healthcare industry. Let's do another example that Montreal has a much higher concentration than the province as a whole. For example, let's use, it's not by a lot, but it's a little bit, wholesale trade. So let's do location quotient for NAISC 41. So the location quotient in this time, it is the CMA divided by the provincial percentage. As you can see, it is greater than 1. That means the concentration of wholesale trade in Montreal, it's more concentrated in the CMA than overall in the province. And it's just identical in 2021, so it hasn't changed dramatically. And in fact, as an exercise, let me take a look at 2010-21, the location quotient for all the industries. So as you can see, Montreal, these are the industries with higher concentration than the province. and also arts as well. And the rest, basically, the province has a higher concentration overall than being in the CMA.